Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone, hi everyone. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hi everyone. How you
Merry
doing, Callum?
Christmas. Merry
Yeah,
Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
thank you. Appreciate that. Do you like my sweaters today? If you're watching on YouTube,
That's crazy. That's it. I was shocked to see that one, but that's a good one.
for those of you who aren't watching this, it's a ugly Christmas sweater of Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction yelling "Say Merry Christmas again," which is homage to the scene where he tries the Hawaiian burger and then they end up killing everybody that like messed up, except for the one guy who was supposed to be the mole that ends up in the car and gets killed anyway,
That's right.
accidentally by Vincent Vega.
That's right.
Yes.
Correction. It is called Big Kahuna Burger.
The Big Kahuna Burger. Yes, I forgot the
Big
Big Kahuna Burger.
Big Kahuna Burger, and then the other guy gets killed while they're talking about Big Macs in France.
That's right. Correct. That's right. That's right. So I don't know if you know this about me. Now that we're doing this on YouTube a little bit here and there, I get an ugly Christmas sweater every year. I just pull it out for specific parties and don't typically show the world that I have them. But this was my special this year, and I thought everybody would enjoy it.
Do you keep them? Like, do you have
Yeah, I
a
keep
back?
them.
Okay, so do
Yeah,
you
it's
wear?
like you with the jerseys. I could put a
Okay.
wall up of my ugly Christmas ones. I do have a Washington football team ugly Christmas sweater, which is going to be a keeper for all time.
Anything Washington football team is great, like legitimately great. I already
Yeah.
think it's like aging very well. So
This was
that's a good buy.
big hit at the Christmas party I was at yesterday. Big hit. A lot of questions about it. Where'd you get it? It's amazing. What are you gonna do next year? Told them the other ones that I looked at, gave a thought to. What were the contenders to be the sweater this
Yeah,
year?
I was gonna say, was it the only Pulp Fiction one? Because if there are other Pulp Fiction ones, I would be interested.
It was the only Pulp Fiction one I saw
Okay.
that I would have gotten. I could just go down the easy road. I was going to get a Christmas Vacation one, but it's the Randy Quaid, you know what's full.
Of course,
Like,
classic.
and I'm like, there's kids at the party. So I was like, I just can't. Like, I'm 5 to 10 years away when they're all old enough that would be potentially funny if that movie is still in the Christmas rotation, which I believe it will be.
Of course.
And there were a couple others that I thought were like contenders, but the Samuel L. Jackson "Say Christmas Again," that one, that's for me.
You do have like there is always a line because that's not a Christmas movie, obviously. So
Correct.
there's a little bit of a stretch there, which I'm fine with. I'm very much fine with.
We had it wasn't even an argument in our house last night. Die Hard went on, and everyone assumes that is a Christmas movie. And I know that that's a big controversy about what, because it's set around Christmas, but it's not really about Christmas.
Not a Christmas movie. It just takes place during Christmas. There's a difference.
I think it is.
It's not.
Asked
It's
what are
not
your
a
top
Christmas.
3 Christmas movies? Die Hard's on my list of that. Actually, it comes in at number 3. It's not number 1. It comes in at number 3.
It's not a Christmas movie though.
Well, it's set around Christmas, so.
But that doesn't make it a Christmas movie. A Christmas movie is a feel, not a set time, as far as I'm concerned. That's my part of the debate there.
Here's a big argument in our house: A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Do you believe that's a good movie?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it has very good scenes and iconic moments, but if it wasn't on for 24 hours around Christmas, I don't think it would have the staying power that it does.
So I believe it's a great movie.
Okay.
It's my favorite Christmas movie.
Okay.
It's a tradition. We watch it every year on Christmas Day on whatever, because it's on a million different things. But we have family members that hate it and think it's like bad. Like, just
Hate's
like
a strong word.
We don't understand why you like it. We don't like it at all. Yeah.
No, hate's a strong word. Like, I think it's fine. I think it's good, not great. Like, I'll land on that. But you have like, I think if it was not on TNT or TBS for 24 hours for literally an entire day, had like it's been for what 20 years or whatever, I don't think it would have the same staying power.
Maybe.
I think it's good, not great. Christmas Vacation is my one seed. That's gotten better as I've gotten older.
My favorite part of the sweater I'm showing off now.
Guns.
It's the gun on the side.
Literal guns.
The literal gun. Yeah. Anyway, these
Christmas
days,
Vacation though is my one seed though.
Christmas
Period.
Vacation is a very good one.
Because it's gotten better with age, and you're gonna like. I think as you get older and you realize how stressful the holidays actually are, that epitomizes like the real feeling of Christmas.
I think what I love about Christmas Story is Ralphie's a liar. He's like a little liar, and like that's what I really love about the whole thing, because everyone thinks of it as this kind of sappy Christmassy family story, but Ralphie lies over and over. Like that's what I really like about it.
Throws his friend under the bus that had to lick the pole, you know.
Does shoot his eye out. Leaves his friend to get beat up by the bully.
Right.
Throws his friend under the bus about the curse words. Lies about shooting his eye out. Like he's just a liar. Like I like everything about it.
That's fair. I get it.
Christmas Day is for everyone these days, including in sports, because there is apparently no agreements anymore on who owns what anymore. It's over. Like it's no holds barred. The NFL has just decided we don't care anymore. We're taking over the world. Everybody cares about our sport. And sorry, deal with it. So much so that they put games on Christmas Day. Why? Because Netflix was going to pay a lot of money to do it. I don't think they would have done it otherwise just to do it. Like if CBS said, let's put these on up against the NBA, and the NFL goes, how much more money's involved with that with us? And they go, well, none. We just think it's a good idea and it's ratings windows. They'd go, nah, I think we'll just hold out and see if Apple or Netflix are into that. And guess what? They are. So I think we're heading down the path now where it's over, where Red Zone Sundays are not going to have as many games on them anymore. I think we're heading down a path where the NFL is going to spread out through the whole week. Throughout the year is where I think we're going with this, because I need to see the ratings, but I'm going to go that they dwarfed the NBA yesterday, which I'm sure the NBA is not pleased about. And that's just going to be another sign of this is king. There's nothing you could do about it. Deal with it. You're all second fiddle to us.
It's a two-parter here as well. Shout out Netflix for not screwing up. The games aired fine. I didn't have any problems across multiple households. Two, the NFL finally has gotten self-aware. Like to me, actually, the big deal wasn't about the actual Christmas Day games. It was what they did with these 4 teams on Saturday to say, oh, we're going to put you on Christmas, but we're also going to line up 2 other games to line the days up. And you and me have talked about this with Thursday Night Football for years, about how they should have probably 2 games on Thursday, and you can rotate those teams for 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, depending on what you've got going on. This is, to me, that's the more monumental part about this, is they've become self-aware enough to go, oh, we'll take over 2 days now to make sure everybody's got enough rest. That's where I was kind of like, oh boy, like they're finally going to realize we're not going to waste all of our supply at 1:00 on Sunday for no reason, essentially. I think we are heading towards that path where there's going to be a rotation now. Definitely.
It used to just be this thing where they're like, well, we'll never play on Friday nights because that's high school football. And we're not going to do Saturday because that's college football. I think we're heading down a path where that's out the window. Because, and it's not just because there's a desire to do it. There's just so many outlets that want to have the games. I think this is dangerous if you spread it around on too many different things, where you kind of lose the space where everybody knows where it is at all times. That said, there's just too much money involved. And if Netflix wants to do a game every week next year, Prime's going to do Thursday. They want to do Friday. Apple wants to do Saturday. They're going to make this happen. And I think that's the path we're heading down now. And now they're just proving out that it works, even on a Wednesday, on a day that's like traditionally for a different sport, if not for other things entirely. And I bet the ratings blew it out of the water. That's what's going to happen now.
I do think there's a difference here, though, that the NFL is going after holidays instead of just random weekdays. Like they can't go after Fridays. They can't go past a certain time on Fridays because of the antitrust laws that the government gave them for some tax exemption. Like I forget what it is, but they basically have to be off the air by like 4 or 5 o'clock on Friday nights. That's why the Black Friday game last year and this past year, they're in the afternoon. They can't go past a certain point. For Christmas, though, I think what happened, honestly, this is just my 2 cents. I think Goodell took one look at those NBA games and went, this is what's been claimed. Like, this is nothing. Because we've talked about it. The NBA has a regular season problem these days. And
big time.
I think Goodell was like, we're not laying down for this league for Christmas. Like, I think he just decided, let's throw 2 of our games on and everyone's going to watch that over all the NBA games. And that's how it was yesterday for where I was at. So,
yeah, I saw LeBron telling the NFL to get off his lawn. And to what I would say back to him is what you just said, which is nobody cares about your regular season anymore.
Yep.
That's your fault, actually. Not you, LeBron, but that's your sports fault. It's your sports fault for many, many reasons that have been going on for years that people have raised red flags about for a very long time. This load management thing, I understand it and I get it, and it's gone too far. And your stars don't play every game now. And now it's gotten so commonplace. Your stars openly state at the beginning of the season, I'm not playing back-to-back nights. Really? You're not? Because the Chiefs just played like 3 games in 11 days. That could not have been fun. And you know what? Their stars played in all of them. And that's not great. And I feel for the players because I think it's we're getting to the point of that's a little too much physical abuse for anybody to go through in a short period of time. That said, it's still important to them to play the games, maybe because they can't afford to lose them. And the NBA players know because of the length of their season, they can, right? They can't afford to lose these games. Like yesterday, Joel Embiid is screaming about what the ceiling is for the 76ers, who last time I checked are under 500. But the reality is, nobody cares because it doesn't matter. As long as they end up getting into the playoffs, that's when it matters. NBA basketball is awesome. NBA basketball in the playoffs is incredible, like absolutely incredible. But the players and the teams who have allowed this to be complicit don't really care. Like the NBA All-Star game the format has to be changed because they don't care. The players talk about this load management stuff as if it's kind of a right and not a reason for someone who has, I don't know, major chronic knee issues to sit out. It's turned into, I'm kind of tired and I don't feel like I can do this 2 nights in a row. This is a festering problem that's going to turn into a massive problem for them for their regular season, not their postseason. Because I don't think people are going to tune that part out or stop going to those games. But the thing that they're getting in danger with is we now know that they don't care that much up until we get till about April. And that's it. And that's unfortunate, but it's the reality. So LeBron, Christmas isn't your day anymore because you took advantage of, your league took advantage of the fans so much and we realized it. And until you guys start treating these games differently again and making them a big deal, this is going to continue to get worse and worse and worse because people don't trust the NBA regular season as a product that matters because the players don't act like they matter.
The other side of this too is to all of this point of the regular season not mattering. It's still the first couple months of the season for the NBA. And the NFL got lucky yesterday. All 4 teams of those that were playing yesterday had something at stake. They were all in
playoff teams.
All playoff teams, yep. All playing for seeding, all in contention, all trying to lock their own stuff up. They got really lucky with that because you and I know some of those Thursday nighters and Monday nighters are duds. It's this late in the season.
They could have put Cleveland in there at the beginning of the season because they thought they'd be a playoff team again. There's plenty of options of they could have put Cincinnati in there, which actually might have been interesting, but they were kind of a dud up until this point too.
Yeah. And so I look at that and also go, well, when the NFL has playoff teams that are all playing each other, that's just more important. And you also factor in, because I was dealing with it yesterday, it's fantasy championships too. So people were kind of locked in a little bit more than I thought they were going to be yesterday. And that's the argument there too, is it's a more important season overall for the NFL. Not only that, but the timing of this season is way more important than the NBA games as well. So
yes, Adam Silver's on this. He doesn't know what to do about it because they're trying all sorts of things. They do crazy colored courts and a tournament in December that doesn't matter. And it's just regular season games. Nobody cares who wins that. They're trying to alter the format of the All-Star game because the players don't care about it so much so they don't even really try. And then now people are starting to notice that the regular season games, they can look like the All-Star game sometimes, where they're just jacking up threes. There's no real defense. Nobody's really playing physically with one another. Like there are on a given night, there might be some couple of big teams get into it and they play pretty hard, but it's pretty obvious. And we've all been around the block too long to know that these guys don't care about it. Like the NHL plays the same amount of games. Go watch their regular season games. Sure, night to night, like, listen, the Caps lost the other night because they played their third game in 4 days, but they play hard. Like, they play hard. They're one of the better teams. They play hard. If you want to be good in the end in that sport, you have to play hard for the majority of the season. The NBA has figured out that, like, the good teams and the bad teams, the delineation is so high that you don't even have to play hard to end up qualifying for the playoffs. So I don't know what they're going to do about it other than maybe this is a kick in the teeth to all of them, LeBron included, to go, guys, we're on to you. Like, we actually love your sport, but you guys aren't trying very hard. And you openly state how you have disdain for the regular season. So why would we reward you for that? And the NFL goes, you know what? We got all these streaming services. They're all offering us $1 bazillion, but they need to carve out their own periods of time where they have games. Give it to them and we'll take the money. And we don't care if you call us greedy or spread it out or not as into safety as we say that we are, whatever. We don't care. We don't care what your excuses are. We know that the teams in our league are actually going to play really hard on these days. We also know it's the most popular sport and by far and not even close. And now, because of your own real fault, we don't really care that we're stepping on you. That's what it is. They don't care. They don't care that they're stepping on them. They never put games on Saturday until late in the season when college football is over. This time we found out the hard way. The NFL is going to do better than the college football playoff games are going to be. And then they all scurried and ran around and yelled and screamed that Indiana and SMU, whoever shouldn't have been in it. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, well, why even have a regular season if you're not going to let the teams that qualify that have the best records?
That's right. Also, one more thing on the NFL too, is they not only said we're throwing 2 games down, which I think would have been enough. They're like, oh, by the way, we're doing a halftime show and it's freaking Beyonce. Like, that was throwing down the gauntlet of all gauntlets, where it was like, we are going to give you one of the most kind of pop culture things we do, which is the Super Bowl halftime show. And we're going to put it on Christmas now. Good luck with that. Like, that was the NFL going, you can't see us at this point. You cannot even touch us.
You're not even like we look at our rearview mirror and we don't even see you.
That's right. Right. Exactly.
You're nowhere near. We lapped you. As far as Beyonce goes. So this is different than the Super Bowl show. What do you think they paid her to do that?
Ooh,
had to be millions and millions of dollars, I think.
Yeah, like a lot of money. I mean, you got to realize it's isn't it like, wasn't there a sponsor on it? Like, I'm pretty sure there was a sponsor on there yesterday. I don't know if it was Pepsi. Pepsi's usually the halftime show, but yeah, I mean, it's sponsorship dollars. They gave her a lot of money. Also, that was a legitimate production. That was not I don't want to say this in like a disparaging way, but like the Cowboys halftime show and the Lions halftime show on Thanksgiving is a set stage and it's nothing crazy. That was a production, like legit all over. It was a
Super Bowl show.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
This is why I'm saying, like, if they weren't like the standard, at least they say with the Super Bowl show is because it's so beneficial to the artist to be on that stage is they don't pay them to do that. Now there's some like Katy Perry who have like pushed back and go, I'm not doing this for free. And she also hasn't done the Super Bowl show. All right. But like others realize that the amount of money, there's going to be a windfall for them because
Katy Perry did halftime. Katy Perry did halftime.
She did?
Guy, you were Left Shark in the friggin' Sports Center commercial.
Oh, that's right. But she said her whole thing was they have to pay me. That was her whole thing. Like, some of these other artists have stated like they don't pay you to do this, but on the other side, we know like the next stage is going to be 8 trillion downloads and tickets for their shows. It's a good launching point for all their shows, all that stuff. There's so many benefits on being on what is the most watched thing on earth, you know, for a day. So they get to do it. There's no chance on earth yesterday that they didn't pay her to do that. Like there's no way, especially to the point of what the production they put on. That was a lot of money, like what they put on to do that. And then I'm like, I watched and everyone screamed and yelled about the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing. It was an incredible stunt. They put a ton of money into that, like a ton. Like I know the streaming thing was like what came out of it because everybody's, stream got busted because so many people were watching it. But like if you really just kind of took it at face value for how much money was put into the production of that, Netflix is not kidding around. Like they had 2 studio shows at halftime for these 2 games, 2 of them. There's no need for that. They had 2 studio shows at halftime. They tried the dumb "this is cake" bit, which was, I love that the Ravens would take no part in whatsoever. They the show they did with Beyonce was crazy. That was better than the Super Bowl shows. So Netflix also, I think, just showed the NFL, look what we're going to do on your behalf. They put a lot of money into doing this. And that's another reason why they're going to be in this for the long haul, like Prime is, but they're going to have to give them a day or a night. What day or night's that going to be? Is that going to be Friday? Is that going to be Saturday? What's it going to be? Because these other rights holders have all these other spots. Where's their day going to be? It's coming.
And also on the Beyonce thing too, just to like chime in on that performance, you have to realize she is from Houston. So that was also a really good get with them getting someone that is a superstar where they're actually playing the game. Like if it was Pittsburgh, who they getting to play Pittsburgh? Like I don't know who's coming out for that one. So there's definitely a difference there. I'm with you though. Like Netflix is basically going, see what we do when you give us the games on this holiday. So I think you're going to want to keep doing that. Like I'm sure today the meeting is, okay, what game are we putting on next year and who's the halftime show? And they're going to start working on it like the Super Bowl at this point.
Well, it's also like, it's a kind of a shot at Prime being like, we could do the Thursday game. Look at look at what we're willing to do for the Thursday game. They put a lot of money into that, like just a ton, because it benefits them. It's not about advertisement necessarily for them. It's about growing subscriber bases. And that's where the true benefit is for a group like that, which is different than the over-the-air television networks that are doing everything based on viewership and sponsorship dollars that's attached to viewership and ratings. Not them. Yeah, they want ratings and they want viewership and they want sponsorship. But if they get 500,000 people to sign up because they want to watch the football games in that halftime show, that's something that lasts for years if these people never cancel all of this. There's so much money involved in something like that. So the dynamic has changed. All bets are off. And to the NBA, like, I love you guys, but I'm with everybody else here. Get your act together. Like, it's time for you all actually to take responsibility for being lazy, because that's what it's been. Like, the NFL doesn't do that. The NHL doesn't do that. Like, baseball, it's kind of just too many games. There's no way around it. But with the NBA, you guys have made your own bed here, and everybody's aware of it. And people are kind of stepping on you because you guys don't take your regular season seriously enough. And if you start taking it more seriously again, I think people will be back on board. Don't get me wrong. I'm watching the playoffs like everybody else on earth. I love the playoffs. They're fun. But it's like, it's when you guys try. It's so obvious. Like if you watch the playoffs, you watch the regular season, the difference in the games is so striking. Even with the good teams, it's so obvious you guys don't care about it. So why should we? And that's what you're running into. And then you've got a behemoth who it's all no holds barred anymore, who doesn't care about like going, oh, that's your day. No, it's not anymore. It's not your day anymore.
That's right. Exactly right. And I mean, to the NFL's point as well, they've got 3 of the 7 days already during the week, right? With Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. So this is all the NFL is saying, well, when Christmas falls on one of those 4 days, we're still going to take it now. Like that's all this was as well, was to say, we're going to take this day no matter what day it is, and we'll line it up the week before, and you're going to like it. That's pretty much what I've landed on.
I think the holy grail is going to be, will they put games on Saturdays during the season? That's the big question. Like, will they do a 1, 4, and 7 Saturday slate and go, yeah, we know that SEC game is a really big deal, but it's a really big deal to that audience.
Yep. No, I mean, I've always said that there should be, I mean, not that it's every city, but I think there should be a distinction of markets, that these markets don't care about college as much as these other markets. No, and you go ahead and you use that to your advantage. Like, unfortunately, I think Washington falls in that category for a perfect Saturday slate. Yep. New York. Yep. Absolutely. Like,
yeah. I mean, if you did something earlier in the day preemptively in LA before a USC game, you could run into the exact same thing.
Right. I mean, I think you look at, a lot of those depending which Florida team it is. You could look into Miami, or you could look into Jacksonville, depending on what day of the week it is. But that's the other thing too. You have gaps during the college breaks as well. Like, I'm not saying the
Yeah.
NFL would cater to that, but those college schedules come out pretty early too. They could start, shoehorning a few games in where teams aren't playing or whatever.
I wouldn't put the Lions up against a Michigan game.
Right. Exactly. Like that's I think that's like the biggest example of where you don't overstep, or you don't put, the Bengals or the Browns on the day that Ohio State's playing. Like, I think that's where you draw the line.
But you could put a Bears game up on a Big Ten Saturday and see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could do that. Yeah,
you could.
Yep.
See how it goes.
I think you stay away from Houston, Dallas, Tennessee, New Orleans. I think you stay away from most of the teams in the South. Like, I think you just stay out of the SEC's way.
But Washington, Buffalo, New England, the Jets, the Giants, all the Northeast teams that aren't so ingrained in all of that very easily could be playing on Saturdays.
And massive audiences.
Strip the ratings down of those college football games. Oh, my God.
It'd be fun. I think that would be fun. I'd be down with that. You and I both
directly connected to the NFL. Go ahead, guys. I love it. Go for it.
You and I have always talked about the NFL more than any other sport could dictate where they put their games and people are going to follow. And they've never done it. And it's just mind blowing because, like, we're finally getting it with the NHL a little bit. Like, did you know on Christmas Eve, the Rangers and the Devils played at like 3:00 in the afternoon? I was like, this is amazing. Like, more sports should be doing this, like playing around with the times. It was awesome. Like, I want more of that. I want the NFL to start doing that though, because you know what happens when the NFL, schedule is out and people look at it, they stop everything they're doing and make their plans. And so when a game is on, no one's working. Like,
everybody's finally figured out too. It used to be things were at a certain time because that's when people were home.
Yeah, right.
Everybody watches things on their phone now.
That's right. Exactly right.
So it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. There's no appointment viewing. That doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
You can play things at any time. All right, let me take a quick break. Bray, why don't you show ESPN 630 Sports Capital? All right, welcome back. Houston. Yikes.
Frauds. Called it here. Called it here first, like week 4.
Listen, CJ Stroud was amazing in his rookie season. This is the scary part about the future with Jaden. Nothing's guaranteed. Like, it's a very, very, very different year for them. He's been up and down and off for most of the year. They're going to end up kind of barely over 500. I don't remember who they play, but it's somebody in their division week 18. So it's probably a win if they care. I don't even know. Like, they're locked as the 4 seed. So it doesn't matter. Like, they don't have to play their guys, and they maybe could use a week off to clear their brains. I mean, they should have been shut out yesterday at home on Christmas Day, and I'm not surprised. Like, I think Baltimore's a way better team than them. Baltimore's also the epitome of, and this is what I hope we become, because I love what's happening this year, but we haven't been this in a long time, like the 80s and 90s. Been there, done that every year. I know what I'm getting from Baltimore every year. They're going to be a tough out. They may have some hard seasons. Their team might not be as good as years past. Their defensive coordinator might be 18 years old like he is this year. Takes a little time for them to get it together. But you know what they are at the end of the year, and they've been there, done that. Nothing's too big for them. And Houston, they've been in the playoffs a lot with a lot of different coaches and a lot of different teams. I think partially because nobody in their division since Peyton Manning left has been anything that's been stable whatsoever. So I think they've been kind of the beneficiary of that, but they're not a been there, done that team for a while. And it showed. It showed here late in the season and over the past 5 days where they've just been rooked twice and they scream one and done. Like, they're a home playoff loss. They're going out quick this year.
And I knew that in week 4. I knew they were going to be a one and done in week 4. I don't believe in this offense. I don't believe in this defense. They just look like they are like just going through the motions. I don't know how you fix that, but it's also worst case scenario for them too. They loaded up this year to go on a run, and it hasn't been that way, right?
No.
Like, that's also your worst fear of, oh, we have this rookie contract, load up. It's not paying off for them. And I think that's kind of the worst part about it. And I get it. Injuries have happened for them throughout the year, But if Stroud was going to be as good as everyone told me he was going to be, you help elevate the team.
Correct.
And he has not done that at all. And that's your number one concern, I think, off this season is you thought you were banking on this guy to raise everybody's game. He's not. And it's staring you in the face of if he doesn't do it in the playoffs, you're one and done, which I think they will be.
This is one of those, I need to talk to the coaches about it, but what are they doing to him?
Yeah.
Because this is really, it's been this way the whole year with him. Very up and down, very average. He has his moments where he looks great, and there are these times where the timing is so off on them, and their offense is messed up, and they're going out quick because they're going to get, who are they going to get? Harbaugh? They going to get Harbaugh the first round? Probably.
No, they're the 4.
They're the 4.
Yeah, so they'd play 5, right? 5
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're definitively the 4.
Right.
It's probably Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Probably. They're going to go out fast.
Yeah.
It's going to be fast. Like they're one and out. They're done. So yikes for you guys. In the meantime, congratulations to Lamar, who became the most prolific running quarterback in the history of the NFL yesterday. And everyone's screaming and yelling he should win the MVP again. Do you think it's that like everyone is talking about it like it's like that's a no-brainer. Like I don't know about it this year. Like I think they're going to win their division. They're not going to have the best record by far. Like the Chiefs don't have to play anybody next week. They've locked up the 1 seed. Buffalo beat them, and like I don't know. Like does this? Everybody thinks I'm nuts, but like Jaden should be in this conversation too. He's not going to be, but like if we had won a couple more games and a record of like 12 wins, I think he would be actually, because who's more important to their team than that guy, honestly, at this point. But I don't know why everyone thinks it's just so obvious that Lamar Jackson's the MVP again.
I think it's mainly because of his dynamic plays over Allen's. Like Allen can run the ball, has had some good runs, can get some rushing touchdowns. But like you look at the long run yesterday from Lamar where he's untouched. Like Allen's not pulling away from a defense like that. So I think that's the slight edge. I think it's 1A, 1B though. Like I think it's Lamar or Allen. Like I don't think there's anyone else. I think you could have argued Saquon, but now the last few weeks, I think he's out of that conversation. Like I think
they just typically don't give it to a running back, which is what the problem is. I think Saquon honestly probably is, because if he were to miss a few weeks, they'd nosedive. Like you could just feel it. Like you could feel it on them.
No, of course with Saquon, but I just think over the last, especially this past week where they bottled him up in the second half, you lose out on that race when you have an outing like that or a second half like that. I think it goes to Allen or Jackson. It depends what the final stats are going to be at the end of the year. I'm not surprised though that Jackson is firmly in the conversation. I thought they've had a really good year. He's a dynamic player. He puts up stats every week. I'm just not shocked. I'm not shocked at that one.
Am I being too homer thinking Jaden should be in this conversation? Like, I know he's not going to get it, but like, come on. Like, think about the wins that they've had and what he's done at the end of games. Like this last week alone, like, do you think this team's record would be what it is if he wasn't playing the way that he's been playing this year? Like,
you're not going to give MVP to a wild card team. You're just not. Like, I
hear you. I'm just saying, like, if we're going to have this, we're talking about crazy wild plays that the quarterback makes. Our guy has made those. He had a 4th and 11 run last week that was ridiculous. Like, what are we talking about here?
What I'll say is I think the drum is being banged on Jaden now that like it's happened and he's kind of back into form. I think like Olsen on Sunday did a great job of saying he's rookie of the year bar none, but we're not talking enough about how good this season has been like in a non-rookie context. So I think
100%.
I think people are starting to give it a little bit of momentum, but he's not better than those other 2 quarterbacks. I'm with you. Like he should get a slice of the conversation. He's just not the 3rd or 4th option either. So I don't think people are really talking about it.
Some of this is, I was saying this early. I'm like, this guy's special. Like you could just see it early. And I don't, and I'm not trying to be like a homer here. He's been ridiculous. Like I said this the other day and no one pushed back. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. And if he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, then he's in a conversation like this. Buffalo and Baltimore have been there, done that for a long time. So you see them every week. People talk about them every week. This team's been under the radar across the country with the exception of the few moments that they got to see on like major stages last week to some degree. If that happened on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, I actually think people would be talking about it differently. No one saw that Saints game. No one saw it. He was absurd in that game. Everyone saw the Monday Nighter against Cincinnati, but it was only week 3. But he did it in week 3. Like, this is probably for down the road. He does this again in the next couple of years when this team has 5 night games, which is going to happen starting next year. I think they're going to start beating that drum earlier if he keeps doing the things that he's doing. But I don't know. Like, I know that he's not going to get it, and I'm not advocating he should, but I think he should be discussed as a candidate for it the way that he's played this year.
The other problem that you're going to have with him, though, too, is we talked about it going into that Eagles game. They don't have a signature win, besides that one against a Super Bowl contender. I'm not trying to write off all of their opponents, but a tier 1 opponent, he doesn't have that, right? Like, they didn't beat the Steelers or the Ravens or the Eagles the first time around. And that's a factor there, is what I'm saying. Like,
I agree.
Allen played the Chiefs, right? Like, they play that division. You look at Lamar, he plays a really hard division too. Like, they have wins against all those top tier teams. I just don't think Washington has those yet. And except for this last weekend, which there are also all those arguments too in that game.
Stroud had an outrageous rookie season too, and they didn't talk about him as like being the MVP last year. All right. So Lamar breaks the Michael Vick record for most rushing yards by a quarterback. This is one I believe that Jaden will not break. I think he's a more accomplished passer than Lamar ever was early in his career. And I have a feeling that he's going to use his legs less and less and less as his career goes on, as he develops. So I don't think we're going to ever see that from him. I would be surprised if he ends up having the crazy amount of rush yards that he has this year. I think as he develops, he's going to become more and more and more of a passer, and he'll use his legs when he needs to. And so I don't think he's ever going to, even though he's probably capable of it, I don't think he's ever going to really challenge a record like that.
Yeah, agree. He runs when he needs to, not when he wants to, is what I would say as well. He's never been a run. And in fact, I even said it for that Saints game, and I think you agreed with me after you watched the tape. He had lanes to run, and he actually wasn't. And he was getting sacked. So, like, I think he's not a run first guy. So he won't be touching that.
He never was from the get-go either. Yeah. Let's see. Boy, the air's out of the Steelers balloon. I love me some Tomlin, but they have hit the skids here the last few weeks. And if you're going to sit there and tell me it's all because of George Pickens, then you guys were fragile to start with. That's right. It's never about one guy. I mean, he's very good, but like, come on, like, give me a break. Like, you guys can't overcome being without him for a couple of weeks. Like, really? They've gone completely the wrong way. Now Baltimore probably wins that division, which means that puts them on the road. Boy, things have shifted fast for those guys.
Russ is cooked. Let's just call it that. Russ is cooked. That's what I've landed on with him. He wanted that contract extension halfway through the year too. Once Tomlin turned to him, that's not going to happen now. I'm with you too. One wide receiver does not make your offense. We know that here. And the fact is, if Russ can't elevate the players around him, that's not very Steelers way. He's going to play himself out of there, and they're going to have to go get another quarterback again next year. Yeah, I think so. And last one is this: the Chiefs just don't care about your feelings. You can keep telling them that they're lucky, or they shouldn't have this record, or this is different than other years, but they just keep winning. They've lost once all year, and they're going to get to rest everybody next week as they wait for the 1 seed. I'd love to see someone else beat them, but it's just so hard to picture it because they find a way to win against good teams. And yesterday, that was a slaughter. Like, that wasn't like, and that was what was unusual about that was they hadn't really done that to anybody, and they did it to them on the road. They're heating up again, and it doesn't seem to matter what you think about them. They're just kind of too good. He's Tom Brady now. Like, we said this about Tom Brady every year. Like, oh, someone's going to beat them. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, this is the most, I think this is the most dangerous version of the Chiefs going into the playoffs that we've seen. The fact is, every game has been close. The defense is the best it's ever been. And the offense, honestly, has been running, at half speed the entire season until like the last couple of weeks. So now all of a sudden, they're going to put up more points, and all of a sudden you won't be able to touch them because of their defense. Yeah, they're a machine. They're an absolute machine at this point. And the difference between Brady and Mahomes is Brady never played like this his first 5, 6, 7 years in the league. It took him a long time to get to be the Tom Brady that we all know and love. Mahomes has done it from the jump. It's just ridiculous. It's so
every
ridiculous.
Time he gets an ankle injury, forget it.
2 days. Like,
yeah,
2 days.
He's
like,
a little Ovechkin that way. He gets an injury, he doesn't go away, and it doesn't slow him down.
Yeah. I mean, we watched that Netflix show, the quarterback show.
Yeah.
He does all those crazy stretching and those weird exercises. It works. Like, it clearly works for him, because when he gets banged up and pulled out of a game, he's fine 2 days later. It's ridiculous.
Kansas City machine never breaks. All right. Be right back. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right. What do the Commanders want for Christmas? Well. I'll start with this one because it's extremely unlikely, but it'd be really funny. The Eagles get the ghost of Christmas past. So I saw a report, and I don't remember, was it Schefter or somebody else, who hinted that they might want to lose the last game to the Giants because that would muddle up who gets the number 1 overall pick, and they wouldn't get Shedeur Sanders, even though I don't know who landed on Shedeur Sanders as Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, but okay, like, you want to believe it, but they're in line to get their quarterback of the future. And the Eagles could get in the way of that. If they knock them off, there's a lot of 3-win teams. So I don't know who would end up with the first overall pick and could screw them over. Here's the problem with that theory. If Washington wins this week and they lose to Dallas, and last I heard, Jalen Hurts hadn't practiced yet this week because of the concussion last week, and Dallas is playing their butts off for no good reason because they're eliminated, but they are. Mike is going to show up in Philadelphia. Watch, because he likes to show the Eagles what's up. If they knock them off, and I actually honestly won't be surprised if they do, they're going to have to win that game. Again, like, they have no choice but to win that game against the Giants unless they're stupid. And also, if they lose this week, and if they somehow lose in a way that's embarrassing in some way, and the media doesn't make up the excuses that they've been making for them this week, well, will they crater? Because they did it a year ago. Last year, they lost to the Cardinals at the end of the season at home, which was the final example of, oh, you guys aren't going to get there in the end. Like, we all knew it at that point. Like, you guys are done. I don't think this is going to happen. And I actually have been mildly surprised the Eagles media has come to their defense all week. Well, Jalen Hurts, like, if he had played, they wouldn't have lost this game. I don't know, guys. I don't know what position on defense he plays. Your number one defense gave up 22 fourth quarter points. Your number one defense got 5 turnovers and lost. Explain that to me. But they've been actually defending them all week. It takes one more this week, Cooper Rush at home, to scare that locker room into what we all know is possible, them fracturing. That's all it's going to take.
No, I mean, with that, to reference the Schefter report, it was Schefter on Sunday Morning Countdown where he threw that suggestion out there. I think I told you about it on my show on Monday. It was either Monday or Friday. And my first reaction was, who the hell is telling Schefter that? Because Schefter doesn't just get that out of nowhere. So
he doesn't make things up.
One person in that organization is floating that around, and maybe it's just one person. You never know. But the fact is, would Schefter just bring that up unprompted? I don't think so. And so what I'm getting at is you're looking so far ahead that you want to screw up your division rival who has sucked, by the way, for 12 years. You want to even meddle with what they're doing. You're worried about them at this point in the season when you got to worry about yourself. That's some weird energy, man. There's no other way to put it. That's just some weird energy.
So I believe the Eagles will win one of these final 2. We won't win the division. But things are going to get weird. If they lose to Dallas and Washington beats Atlanta, things are going to get weird for a week. So what do the Commanders want for Christmas if they're not going to get that? We need Minnesota to win. We need Minnesota to win this week. Because if Minnesota wins this week, Washington can get the 6th seed.
Yeah.
I would prefer it. Because Philadelphia is going to land in the 2. Do I want to go play Philadelphia again? A little bit, a little bit. Do I want any of my friends to go to that game as fans? I don't.
Right.
I really don't. And
Yeah.
I mean that in all seriousness. Like, I see how these people act at these games. And either way, I think it would be a very ugly scene. If we knock them out, those people are going to lose it. And if they win, they might do dumb things anyway. Like they
Right.
can't control themselves at this game. So I would actually prefer, just for the sake of my friends who would be bold enough to wear burgundy and gold at the link for a playoff game, and then actually root for the team when they knock the Eagles out. Run for your life, bring security with you.
I
like the idea of going to LA, to be honest with you.
I will chime in on this, though. I said this on my show on Monday with you. Philadelphia sports fan is softer than they were before the Super Bowl. That to me is a fact. Like, they're getting their mojo back, but they're getting paranoid. And what happens with that when you're a soft
psycho quotient is higher there, though, than in most places.
Sure. But what I'm going to say here is, they're spoiled Philly fans that don't like a 10-game win streak. All I'm going to float out there is if we play Philly in the opening round, depending on what that price point is, Washington fans are going to want to go to that game quite a bit. And I'm just saying, if Philly fan isn't happy with a 10-game win streak, what makes you think they're going to be happy to go to a wild card game? Like, we've seen this before now with other markets and stuff. And I get it. It's the Eagles, but I'm just saying, price point wise, if it's accessible for Washington fans, they're going to want to go to that place. I'm not calling takeover, but I bet you a little more burgundy and gold than you think if it lines up that way.
Maybe. I also I loved my favorite part of last week was Kincaid going, "Don't hit me on it's hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. You hadn't beaten us twice."
That's right. Right.
What are you talking about? Yeah. The last one then is this, really, and I'd like, just because I don't want to go to Philadelphia in the middle of January, a trip to LA, Seattle, Tampa, or Atlanta would be really nice. That's
not
what I would
Seattle.
Like for Christmas.
Not Seattle.
I love Seattle. I love Seattle.
No, if you have to realize, from my age group of my fan base.
Oh, right. You feel like
Seattle,
it's going to be a loss
every time. Seattle in 2005, Seattle in 2007, Seattle in 2012. I don't want Seattle in the playoffs whatsoever.
What if it's a trip to Seattle and Sam Howell has to start?
Okay, well then, yeah, sign me up. Like, sign me the F up. I'm good. But I get PTSD seeing Washington versus Seattle in the playoffs. I'm sorry, I just do. We've
had a really fun year. I'd love to go to Hollywood for a trip in the middle of January. I'll take that one.
That's a takeover.
That's if Washington if Minnesota beats Green Bay and Washington does win their final 2, which will be an interesting decision for Dan Quinn to make. If they win Sunday night, do they play their guys? I guess they do if Philadelphia loses to the Cowboys, because it's possible they could win the division, so they have to play their guys. But if Philadelphia beats Dallas, and the only thing they could be is the 6 or 7 seed, I wonder how they'll think about it. That'll be interesting.
3 of those 4 places, by the way, not Seattle, LA, Tampa, or Atlanta, pure takeovers from this fan base. Those are 3 places they would take over.
The fun part with LA, I think, it'd be all burgundy and gold in there.
Yep, absolutely. I mean,
all of it. Total takeover.
I would say, too, the last few years that we've been in Atlanta, those have been ridiculous in terms of burgundy and gold. And that was before Jaden was even here. That was just people showing up to root for the team. If they're in Atlanta, that's a full-blown takeover.
100%.
So, yeah.
All right, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Brave Buster Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital.